From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight. More than 98% of entries in an FBI watch list are Muslim names. That's according to a report released Monday by the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR. It sheds light on the targeting of Muslims by the Terrorism Screening Database. The 2019 version of the FBI's list was found by a Swiss hacker. Using the data, CAIR conducted a comprehensive analysis of more than 1.5 million entries. The analysis found the 50 most common names on the watch list are all Muslim names. More than 350,000 entries contain variations of Muhammad, Ali, or Mahmoud. The CAIR report estimates more than 1.47 million entries refer to Muslims. The Muslim civil rights group called on President Joe Biden to take immediate action to address the watch list. Among the concerns is people on it face travel restrictions, immigration, and encounter problems with the FBI. They also may face difficulties obtaining permits and licenses, professional consequences, and restricted access to government buildings. Former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey is claiming that India reportedly threatened to shut down the social media platform in 2020 if it did not follow orders to block accounts critical of the government. Dorsey said the threats were made during the farmers' protests that began in August that year. The central government sought to block accounts critical of its handling of the protest. Dorsey stepped down as chief executive in 2021. He said India also threatened to raid Twitter employees if the platform did not comply with the government's demands. Dorsey made the claims in an interview with the YouTube news program Breaking Points. His revelation sparked an uproar in India, with government and opposition party leaders targeting each other. Information Technology Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar called Dorsey's claims an outright lie. He said no one was detained or Twitter shut down when the farmers' protests were taking place. Chandrasekhar also said that during Dorsey's tenure, Twitter did not accept the sovereignty of Indian law. According to an analysis of Twitter's transparency reports, the Modi government's legal demands to remove content from the program skyrocketed between 2014 and 2020. Twitter suspended numerous accounts that mentioned the protests. It later unblocked most of those accounts, citing insufficient justification. Volunteers are reporting that stale food was distributed to migrants housed in various Chicago sites. They also said their access to the migrants has been restricted. Volunteer Sorsha Orkiza told local media she was not allowed to deliver donations to the shelters. Media representatives have also been restricted from accessing shelters in the city. Mary May, a spokeswoman for the Office of Emergency Management and Communications, said only people with proper identification are allowed into shelters. She said the restrictions are to ensure security and protect the privacy of clients. However, immigration attorney Paula Roa said volunteers are blocked from interacting with migrants. She said migrants housed in the emergency shelter at Piotrowski Park in Little Village have reported inadequate food, medical care, and access to community resources. Volunteers have raised the issue with Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. They have asked him to intervene and ensure migrants receive 3 adequate meals a day. According to reports, more than 10,500 men, women, and children have come to Chicago since August. About 4,500 people are housed in the city's emergency shelters, and more than 500 are waiting in police stations to open up. A new Senate report has found that American taxpayers pay more money for health care than other countries. A report by Senator Bernie Sanders, who chairs the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, says a Johnson & Johnson treatment costs $25,000 to $56,000 in the U.S. That's compared to $4,000 to $10,000 in other countries. Sanders said that the pharmaceutical industry's greed is reprehensible and results in Americans paying twice in taxes to fund research and again at pharmacy counters. Most medical treatments are developed with the help of scientists at the U.S. National Institute of Health. The report calls it unacceptable that half of the new prescription drugs developed with the help of NIH scientists now cost more than $111,000. It calls for the inclusion of a reasonable pricing clause in contracts when taxpayers support new drugs. Israeli lobbying groups are targeting law school graduate Fatma Musa Mohammed, who gave a commencement speech in support of Palestine on May 12th at the City College of New York School of Law. She had been selected by fellow students to give the speech. Mohammed emphasized the struggle against oppression in all its forms, from New York City police brutality to Israeli apartheid and colonialism. The groups attacking her have called on the City University of New York to deny Mohammed's admission to the bar after she passed the entrance exam. The critics, including a New York City council member, have accused her of lacking character and fitness. In a letter to the New York Bar Association on Wednesday, council member Inna Verkinov called for Mohammed's license to be revoked. The Zionist Organization of America also called on the courts to revoke Mohammed's law license. More than 400 CUNY Law School alumni and 200 faculty members have expressed solidarity with Mohammed. Yet the CUNY board had called her commencement speech hate speech. Obesity can impair the brain's ability to detect fullness. Details on this after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. A recent study has detected that obesity may impair the brain's ability to detect if a person is satiated. Research suggests brain changes persist even after weight loss in obese people. This explains why many people regain the weight they previously lost. Dr. Caroline Apovian, a professor at Harvard Medical School, said that there's no evidence that the brain can reverse the effects caused by obesity. People with obesity continue to suffer deficits in the chemical reactions that signal satiety. The study found that in normal weight individuals, brain signals slowed down when sugar or fats entered the digestive tract. However, in medically obese individuals, brain activities did not decrease and dopamine levels did not increase when the same nutrients were administered via a feeding tube. The study helps explain why people prefer high-fat foods over healthier options. The fat in such foods trigger a stronger biological response in the brain. Ugandan police have suspended 13 officers for torturing Muslim youth. According to police spokesman Fred Inanga, video footage showed officers beating and kicking 45 Muslim youth at a rehab center on the outskirts of the capital, Kampala. The center was run by a local Muslim leader, Sheikh Muhammad Yunus Kamuga. Police arrested the youth on suspicion that they were being trained to become anti-government rebels. Inanga said disciplinary proceedings had been initiated against the officers involved in the June 2nd raid. He said investigations into the arrest of the youth were ongoing. The Uganda Muslim Lawyers Association has condemned the arrest and threatened to petition the government and the Ugandan Human Rights Commission on the matter. Story number 9, Canadian Muslims take one. A Canadian Muslim group has challenged the province of Quebec's order banning prayers openly in schools statewide. In a lawsuit filed Tuesday, the National Council of Canadian Muslims called the order a violation of religious freedom and civil rights. The order primarily affects practicing Muslim students who pray 5 times a day, often using a prayer rug. The council's board chair, Stephen Brown, said they approached the court in the interest of Quebec's students. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association also opposed the law. Harini Shivalinga, director of the Equality Program at the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, said the decree hurts students. Brown said that the Quebec government has no right to dictate to anyone where they can or cannot pray. The UN support mission in Libya has expressed concern about reports over arbitrary arrests of migrants and foreigners. On Monday, the mission said many migrants, including children and pregnant women, are being held in overcrowded, unsanitary conditions. Thousands others, including migrants who entered Libya legally, have collectively been expelled without vetting or due process. The UN mission said that the arbitrary arrests were accompanied by a disturbing increase in hate speech and racist statements against foreigners. It called on Libyan authorities to stop these actions and treat migrants with dignity and humanity in line with their international obligations. In April, a group of investigators commissioned by the UN Human Rights Council said that there was evidence of crimes against humanity being committed against Libyans and migrants. That included women being forced into sex slavery. Libya is considered the main transit country for migrants coming to Europe. The European Union is working to pass the world's first artificial intelligence legislation. EU Competition Commissioner Margrethe Vestager stressed the new legislation will not hinder technological innovation. She was speaking at a European Parliament debate on AI systems in Strasbourg, France. Vestager said the legislation will shape the use of technology in the best interests of people. Italian EU lawmaker Brando Benifi said that the legislation will ensure AI is used in a, quote, safe and transparent, non-discriminatory way. If passed, the law will strictly ban systems based on manipulative techniques, social profiling, and most forms of biometric surveillance. It's not expected to take effect until 2026 at the earliest. The United Nations Climate Change Conference 2023, or COP28, will be held from November 30th in Dubai. A climate specialist described 2023 as important for global climate action. Worldwide Fund for Nature coordinator Shirley Matheson told Anadolu News Agency this year's meeting will take stock of commitments made in 2015 Paris Agreement. She said this will provide a clearer picture of how the fight against climate change has progressed since then. Matheson was amongst those attending the ongoing Bonn Climate Change Conference in Germany. That conference serves as a prep summit for COP28. Matheson also said that the gradual phase-out of fossil fuels and the overall energy transition is critical. Meanwhile, some European countries are posing as climate change leaders, but starting new fossil fuel projects. Child labor is a widespread threat to industrialized countries as well as developing ones. Activist Fernando Morales de la Cruz said 1 million children work in the United States and the same number in European countries. He said countries such as Norway and Switzerland also benefit from the exploitation of millions of children by companies. Morales de la Cruz noted that more than 75 million children are exploited in global supply chains. He also blamed companies for their exploitative business models. He said the only way to eradicate poverty and eliminate child labor is to raise prices for farmers and wages for workers. The International Labour Organization reports at least 160 million children globally were forced to work in 2021. Morales de la Cruz ruled out that international community could meet its goal of ending child labor by 2025. Several U.S. states are seeking to relax child labor laws to allow companies to employ children as young as 14. A similar law is being pursued in Quebec to allow children to work in agriculture. Thousands of Canadians have signed a petition calling on Cineplex, the country's largest cinema chain, to withdraw the Indian film Kerala Story. Canadian journalist Shanaz Karamali said that the film marketed as nonfiction is disgusting and should be banned like anti-Semitic films. The film claims 32,000 women from the southern Indian state of Kerala forcibly converted to Islam before joining militant groups in Syria and Yemen. Indian fact-checkers have already rejected this claim. The U.S. State Department documented 66 Indian-origin fighters found in the ranks of terrorist group ISIS. The Canadian chapter of the right-wing Hindu group Vishwa Hindu Parishad distributed free tickets to people in Mississauga last month. The film shows Muslim men recruited by ISIS luring and converting Hindu college girls in the southern Indian state of Kerala. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.